Thank you again for joining us. I am Erin Eiras, joined with our special guest, Stephanie Vokral. Super excited for us to have this side-by-side couch talk today. Digging in a little bit more on this CDFA, and I just wanted to bite-size it. So that's kind of, digging in so we can focus on things. We focus in the high net worth space, which we know, but in divorce, what are some of the considerations that somebody that is in high net worth that maybe doesn't realize, hey, these are things I really need to consider? Where is the CDFA adding that additional value?
Absolutely. Many times in the high net worth space, we will see a lot of executive compensation. Things that you don't normally run across unless you are in that, C-suite and above.
Correct.
And so we are looking at many times stock options. Those are less common now than RSUs, restricted stock units. And so many times it is educating even those executives who, might run a company or even be, a director of a department, but many times they have a hard time understanding what they actually have.
Right.
And for sure, if we have the non-financial spouse, we are taking time to educate on what they have. And so it's helping them to understand what they actually have, but then also valuing that. We have to determine what portion of that is marital property, what part of that is separate property, what part can be used for income, for support, child support.
Yes.
People hate the word alimony, but sometimes it's called spousal maintenance, alimony. And so we have to separate those out and help them, as well as the attorney, understand those different components.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So executive comp, and then we may have multiple real estate properties.
Sure.
So, making sure that we value those appropriately, and then helping clients to understand, all right, if you get this piece of real estate in the divorce, here's how your expenses might change.
Right.
These are some of the things that you're going to have to think about. What are the tax implications? Who is on the deed or a mortgage? Thinking through all of those nuances that many times I think are overlooked.
Oh, absolutely.
And even, with the marital home, if we're doing some cash out refinance and understanding how that language needs to be worded in the marital settlement agreement, so that we can actually execute the marital settlement agreement post-divorce. I mean, you don't know how many times I run across agreements where people will come to me and go, this is going on and that is going on, and I can't do it because the mortgage company is saying this.
Right.
And so when we're thinking about that in the high net worth space, it is really paying attention to all of those details as far as different property that they could get, or real estate, or even commercial real estate, just thinking through that for them. And is a non-financial spouse actually going to be able to use that property? Do they have the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding to do that?
Right.
And if that's not the case and they don't want anything to do with it, then how is that going to impact the spouse? If I'm on the spouse's side in that example, then it is, well, what do we have that is liquid where we could buy out the non-financial spouse, and how is that going to impact them, and what makes the most sense for each party to keep, and having some of those discussions. So
and it seems like there's so much outsider perspective, desperation in those moments, right? And nothing with PSUs or RSUs are easy, and they're very, ruled out. There are tax issues associated with all of those things. So I know tax planning has got to be a big part of getting in there and doing the high net worth space. What are the tax implications? Taxes are already a lot in a high net worth, marital household, but then they often become too high net worth, high tax situations there too. So
And that is where we
educating them.
will partner with their CPA many times, and we have to ask a lot of questions. I read a lot of legal documents. We'll bring in experts many times in some of those situations.
Yeah.
So it's very, very critical.
Yeah. And the
for
goal is
hire
to
them.
work with their team,
Correct.
unless they're inadequate.
Yes.
And then you have to, look at
And
bringing in
sometimes
some.
we do have to bring in our own people.
We don't
because
want
of
to,
that.
right?
That's
Because it's easy to just keep some consistency that's out there. But I mean, that then brings up when you're going through a divorce, you guys shared the attorney, the intellectual property attorney, the business attorney, the real estate attorney. Everybody is shared, and a lot of times people want to become a little bit more private. On the other, I would imagine that continues, and that's something that you see a lot.
Absolutely. And being discreet, respecting their confidentiality. I mean, we do that anyway,
Right.
but
making sure that things are private for them and that they aren't embarrassed. And,
Right.
so many times on the front end with a higher net worth individual, I will make a recommendation that we go through a more private process instead of litigation for that very reason.
Yeah.
So.
I think those are really great tips, some insights. I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to identify what some of those are so that somebody can come and hire you and actually get in there and get that team member to help them through that process. But knowing what some of the issues are, I think help kind of paint the picture of why we would want to move forward with.
Sure. And I also want to mention, I mean, sometimes it is with, and I do see this a lot within the non-financial spouse, they will want to know, well, what do I have to do not to go back to work?
Right.
And I get that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lifestyle that they are not used to.
Mhm.
And so it is
Scary.
critical
Yeah.
for them to help them understand, well, what do we need to do for you so
Right.
that you don't have to do that at some point?
Yeah.
Because many times they don't have a skill set that they feel like that they want to use
Yeah.
as a profession or a career. And
Yeah.
so we help them understand that. And that's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, of
And
course.
having them
Yeah.
feel comfortable that they can even say that,
Yeah.
and
and having them
supporting
comfortable. I
That's
think
right.
that's really, it's part of that relationship and team that you're building.
Because it is no judgment. It's really trying to help them get what they need and what they want
Yeah.
in the process.
And I mean, I would assume in some cases, not all divorce is bitter. Sometimes people just fall out of love and
That's right.
they want to take care of the mother or the father of their children and do the right thing, and take care of themselves because they want a future and they don't want to be desperate either. So,
Right.
I mean, it's a delicate balance, but
Right.
I mean, you've been able to do it successfully for many years now. So
Yeah.
obviously there's a formula that works, and having that financial plan on the other side of a divorce, especially in a high net worth
Yes.
situation, even more so where one wasn't working, not to say that they don't have that acumen to take that on, but maybe that just wasn't their role in the marriage. So now you're having to come in and kind of be that financial partner,
Yes.
where maybe their partner was that person before. So
That's right.
it's
I've
gotta be
even had a
rewarding.
client say to me that I functioned like her husband. I'm like, wait a minute,
Hold on,
you
not
didn't
all the
like
functions.
him. And she said, oh, no, what I mean
Yeah.
is you do everything with the finances
Right.
like he used to do.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because I don't have to think about it. And that was probably the biggest
Compliment.
compliment that
Yeah.
they could give me.
Because that's
Absolutely.
super elevated, because that
That's right.
person was everything to them for so long, and here you are getting that
That's
same
right. That's
reward or
right.
that same label. So
And finally, I would say for a high net worth individual, it is thinking through because they have, especially if it's what I call a gray divorce, and I can say that because I'm almost at that age. It's 55
gray
or
hair.
older.
I got you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
It is. They've already done some estate planning, and many times they have charitable gift planning
Right.
in place. And it's reading through that and delicately handling that in a divorce, because in many ways we have to not undo that, but we have to go, okay, so we've made these gifts, and so how does that impact post-divorce?
And taxes, right?
Correct.
I mean, yes.
We
So
have
now
to
we're
look
splitting
at,
it.
We have to look at all of that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Gray head. What was it called? A
Gray divorce. That's right, gray divorce.
Yeah.
It is actually.
It's on the rise, I've
Number,
heard that.
Well, the
Yeah.
numbers right now are almost 70%
Yeah.
for married couples over 55, which is shocking.
And I think that goes back to where we do the wealth management side too, and we look at that and say, having a sense of purpose post-retirement.
That's right.
Because a lot of people are afraid, when he retires, when she retires, if they were, a high-functioning, high-performing individual, and then you have not a lot to do, working on that full circle,
That's
whole
right.
person and financial planning and retirement planning to make sure. But you got to do that in divorce. I mean, you would have to say, okay, great. So, this used to be your life, and it used to be galas and fundraisings or whatever. And now what is it? Is it spirituality? Is it family? Is it, a new hobby? I mean, that's got to be pretty rewarding too, to just see them come alive again on the other side of a divorce.
Absolutely, and that's the behavioral finance side of it, is really getting to see some of those light bulbs go off and helping them to navigate that part.
I mean, it is for me, so I can
Yes.
only imagine what we're going to be able to see through you with the divorce planning, coming on board and seeing that with people. So thank you. Thank you for always being just so open and sharing all of that. It's really important for our clients to know it, and for people that want to be a potential client, with InVestra, that who Stephanie is, how compassionate she is, how she communicates, so that you can understand the services that we're bringing and why those capabilities matter. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.